Welcome to Exploring Mystère, a podcast journey into the unseen threads that weave our dreams into existence. I'm Stephanie Foley, your guide and creative alchemist of Moonfeather Hollow. Here, we suspend disbelief and we step into the liminal space for curiosity, wonder, and deeper connection. So take a breath. Soften the edges of what you think you know and step with me beyond the threshold. Because here in the space between the mundane and the magical, possibility shimmers. What is real, anyway? What if reality is softer than we've been taught? What if the edges between what's real and what's possible are thinner than we've been led to believe? So not everything that is unseen is real, right? But not everything that is real can be seen. So let's look at a core inquiry. What if possibility itself is the very first portal into reality? And so I propose a methodology for exploring Mystère and exploring possibility. Suspending disbelief is the beginning. What happens if we treat life like it's enchanted just for a little while? What if we go in with the presumption of what if and let possibility lead? So when we suspend disbelief, and this is without abandoning discernment, this isn't to say we're not going to use our logic, our left brains. It's just that we're going to create a little opening for the possibilities to come through. Because the art of living an enchanted life really is this suspending the disbelief just long enough so that something a little shimmery can slip through. You don't have to believe anything. You just try to open a little bit, a little longer, a little more. Soften just a little bit more. Dissolve the resistance that you might feel to exploring something new or mysterious or uncertain or unknown. Again, without eliminating discernment, you're going to have good boundaries in place, and you're going to have some good, healthy skepticism. But we're going to just suspend disbelief long enough to tune into our hearts. And so that brings us to our next sort of principle or guiding methodology for exploring Mystère, and that is a sense of heart effervescence. Have you ever just felt your heart expand? And it's a little bit, it's this coherence of warm fuzzies and a little bit excitement. I love to call it effervescent heart sparkles. That's from my kiddo when they were much younger, but it's a pretty magical term, and it completely defines for me that just sort of possibility, effervescent, buzzy kind of excitement and mystery and joy. It's underneath it is very much joy. And so for me, when I question what is real and define for myself what qualifies as real, what are the criteria of something being real or not, for me personally, and I invite you to consider this for yourself, it's a sense of heart coherence. If I feel a heart coherence, that to me feels like something more real, because it generates this coherence in my heart, in my body, in my solar plexus, in the gut brain connection. I start to feel there's something here. Do you trust your own felt sense? We're taught to be so logical, especially, I'm a Gen X kid. I don't know what your background is, but I don't think any of us have really, until maybe now, we're just starting as humanity, have been taught to trust and lean into our intuition and discover that felt sense, that somatic presence in our body of wisdom and information that's coming in from somewhere. Do you trust your felt sense? Have you ever had the experience of, I don't know if this is real or not, but I know how it makes me feel? Play around with your feelings, what you feel. And I don't mean just emotion, I mean the sixth sense. What are you feeling? Let's look at bridging skepticism and wonder. Can we bridge those together? And then potentially we can tend to these spaces in between what we know with our skepticism and our logic and our left brain and our grounding and our knowledge and our wisdom, and what we sense with a different kind of wisdom and a different kind of knowing, right? So reality is not necessarily fixed, right? We know this for a fact. Reality is kind of this combination of seen and unseen currents. And, perception, they say perception makes reality. My reality is not the same as your reality. But yet there's this consensus reality, this level of we all kind of generally agree upon, daylight savings time or whatever it is, the sun rises in the east and sets in the west. Like this is part of our consensus reality. But then we each have our own individual realities too, right? So when we tend the spaces between where it's fixed and where it's more personalized, we discover reality is not as solid as we maybe originally thought. In fact, I wonder if you could consider whether or not reality is responsive. In other words, could reality just be waiting for an invitation from you? What if we were in relationship and reciprocity with reality, with what is real and what is not real? What do I mean by reciprocity and relationship? Well, have you ever heard of animism? It's this concept that everything has some level of consciousness. And so if we treat things with consciousness, we enter into relationship with them. So speak with a plant the same way you might with an animal, to hug a tree, to talk to the moon, to enter into a give and take back and forth relationship. This is especially easy to do in nature. I go to the river every day. To me, the river is kind of alive. There's an animistic quality to it. I have a relationship with that river, and there's a reciprocity to it, in that I care for the water. I'm receptive to the messages that might bring me as far as, the insights and ideas that pop into my head while I'm there. I give back to it in gratitude and joy in experiencing its beauty and flow. I work with it as a symbolism, but it's more than just that's over there and I'm over here and it's separate. There's a relationship. Let's talk about 3 layers of reality. So we talked a little bit about consensus reality. There's this layer of the seen. It's our senses, our mind. It's the surface world. And then there's like this liminal world where you're seeing things, but they might have mysterious or hidden meanings like synchronicities or symbolism, archetypes, mystery schools, mystery wisdoms. That's this in between liminal. There's physicality to them, but there's unseen components and aspects as well. And then there's the truly subtle world that, some of our science is just now beginning to figure out how to measure, but so much of it is unmeasurable, the unseen energies, the places of heart coherence. And here's an example. I always talk about, if you walk into a room and you flip a light switch, the light switch is over here and the light is over there in the center of the ceiling. And you cannot see the connection between the two. It's unseen. It's hidden. It's an electrical cord in the wall. So I want you to pretend that you are brand new. You have no knowledge how this works. And all you know is that you're flipping a switch over here and there's a light going on over there. And you don't see how it's connected. That is the unseen. That's the subtle world. We know what it is because this is just an example. But use that example in the unseen world. And what if there are things connecting behind the scenes that we just don't know how to measure yet? Does that make sense? So when we look at these 3 layers of reality, the reciprocity and the relationship in particular is most profound and impactful at that middle liminal world in between, the place of what we call Mundimancy. Mundimancy is the art of divination. It allows us to listen to the Anima Mundi, which is the world's soul. It speaks to us through signs, symbols, synchronicities, and it's a playful and intuitive way to really just get present and attune to information coming through the unseen, but coming into your surface world and letting it affect you and being in relationship with it. So I have an experiment for us to try. If you're willing and able and interested, I think that you might really enjoy this simple experiment of, for 24 hours, just completely suspend disbelief. Ask yourself, what if the world is trying to speak to me? What if I followed synchronicities, whispers, symbols, and didn't really try to prove anything, but just notice what happens? Perhaps you need a permission slip. I'm here to give you permission. You have permission to trust what you feel, even if you can't explain why. You have permission to follow beauty instead of certainty. You have permission to believe in something without needing to prove it. Create without knowing where it's leading. Shimmer in your own bones. Speak to the unseen without needing anyone else to believe you. You have permission to gather far away from the noise in small circles of trusted friends and just to be enchanted with your own life. Now, I believe that no matter what mysterious thread you follow, if you follow it deeply enough, eventually it all leads to one source. Whatever we call it doesn't change that fact. If you can get comfortable exploring, you will recognize your own truths. When I was a kid growing up in the Northwoods near Lake Superior, I explored the realm of my imagination. I was into fairies, the green man. I meditated at the river from the time I was a little kid. I would walk home from school and stop at the river and sit alongside and have these deep thoughts. And I read a lot of books too, like A Wrinkle in Time changed my life. There was another one called Keeping Days, this very, very sensitive soul who had these keeping days. I think books helped me feel connected in a world where sensitivity and intuition weren't embraced, weren't encouraged. But I went to a Catholic school in grade school, and in 6th grade, there was a nun who gave me the book Siddhartha. And I felt so validated at the part of that book. There's a part where Siddhartha is at the river and he can hear the voices of joy, sorrow, good, evil, laughter. It's this sort of moment of clarity and almost enlightenment about how everything is one, and it all comes from the one place. That the river of the self is all of the voices. It's all the whole world speaking together. And that's how I felt when I was at the river as a kid. That's what connected me. And so I do really feel this strong sense of we all do have our own truths. We just need the opportunity to explore them. And that is part of what this Exploring Mystère is all about, so that you can get comfortable and recognize your own truths. So here's your permission slips, your 24-hour experiment, should you choose to accept it. And then just to wrap it up, you do not have to believe anything. You only have to notice what happens when you suspend disbelief, just for a little while. I'm not going to try to explain magic, but I do think we're all here to help re-enchant the world. And to live in an enchanted life isn't just to believe in magic. It's to really court possibility, that the world might be more alive than we've ever imagined. So please accept this gentle invitation to wonder, what if the shimmer you've been sensing your whole life is real? Thank you for joining this podcast journey through exploring Mystère. And if it sparked something in you, we'd love to hear about it. Share your reflections, synchronicities, or questions. You never know where the next thread of mystery might lead. And if you'd like to explore deeper, check out our website, moonfeatherhollow.com, to discover our courses, coaching, and experiential labs, which are all designed to help you really embody your most enchanted life. You'll also find our guided lunar journal, The Dream War of Moonlit Alchemy. And if this podcast feels like home, subscribe, leave a review, or share it with some other fellow seeker of wonder. The more we weave together, the more luminous it becomes. Until next time, may the unseen find you, may the shimmer hold you, and may you invite enchantment into your life.